Hey guys, so I'm really excited to make this video today. This is one I've been wanting to make for a long time, and I believe it's going to be very informative for you, and hopefully I can pass on some really good information to you. I will say, I've said this in many videos over the years, that I'm not an expert on this stuff at all. I mean, there's always more to learn and everything, but I got a pretty good knowledge on this stuff, from over the years of collecting, and I wanted to share some of the things I've picked up on and learned over the years with you. And I hope this helps you maybe with maybe some confusion or questions you might have about liners that you have in your collection. And I'm just really excited to get started. And I got quite a few examples here on my table that I'm going to go over with. And again, hopefully it helps you guys out. So let's get going. All right, so here we go. So as you see here on my table, I've got 10 helmet liners, obviously. And again, there's so much to learn with this. You can never know everything. And there's so many different changes and modifications and little characteristics here and there, but again, I just want to kind of share with you some of the things that I've learned over the years and kind of researched myself to kind of help you guys out. This first helmet liner here, this one is World War II. I actually did a video back in January of this year on how to identify World War II helmet liners. So if you haven't seen that, please check that out. But you see, this one has what's called the OD3, the color webbing. See, it's got the khaki brownish color, or the tan. So if you have a helmet liner and it's this color, which is OD3, that's World War II webbing. It's World War II liner. So if you have a liner that has the greenish color, like all the rest of these are, it would be post-World War II. And that's considered what's called OD7. The green there's OD7 is like the designation. So again, this color right here, this tannish color, tannish khaki color, OD3 World War II. If it's greenish, it's post-World War II. And so just a little bit of history. So, there were some molds from like Westinghouse, and I believe maybe one other manufacturer, definitely Westinghouse molds that were left over from World War II, basically. Like maybe they had already been formed, but they haven't been, fitted with the webbing and different things, and they were, used in Korea. There's just, a lot of people believe that, they've got, World War II helmet liner, even if it has the OD7, the greenish webbing in there, and it's because of this right here. Right here on the front of the helmet liner, you've got, it's really a grommet, but we call it an eyelet, which would have been used for, rank, insignia, right there on the front. So a lot of people see that and think, okay, well, because of that, it's a World War II liner, and, maybe this green webbing was put in late war. But again, like I said, a lot of the shells, the molds themselves, were already made and left over from the war. So they were used at the beginning of the Korean War when it was building up. And they were fitted with the OD7 webbing and, used for Korea and even on into Vietnam. Now, there were helmet liners like the model 1951-52 that were actually produced in those 2 years, with the front eyelet, it's called. And the eyelet, again, well, you actually see it's not on this one. I've kind of got these in order by the years, so to speak, or characteristics. But like I said, the eyelet, like I said, this one has it. It went away after 1955 because there was helmet liners that started being produced at like model 1958s. And this right here would have been done away with after around 1955 or so. So just kind of clear that up there. But yeah, another way you can actually date some of these liners would be in the crown where the maker's mark normally is. It might have, a year there. Once you get into, Vietnam, the 60s and stuff, a lot of it would have been dated on the webbing itself. See, this one right here is dated. Looks like 1973 right there, if you can see that. There's some other ones in here that are dated, different years. See, that one's the 19th of June, 1964. So, but, so, you know, there's Westinghouse, there's K-Pac, Firestone, Marmac. I've actually seen also that MSA supposedly made helmet liners in the 50s. I haven't seen one myself in person, but I did kind of read up on that. Like I said, there's just so much to go over. See, I've got my notes here and different things, but you know, so again, I said, you know, after World War II, some of the molds were reused for Korea, right? And so I've seen a lot of people, they find out that they've got a helmet liner that's actually got a tag made, like it's resin tag, like made into the liner that says Micarta, M-I-C-A-R-T-A, Micarta. Micarta is a subdivision of Westinghouse. And I'll show you an example of that. Let's see. Let me find the one real quick. Here we go. I'm going to do my best with lighting and stuff, so y'all bear with me. Right in there, can you see that? It's a tag in there, and you can actually see a W in a circle. You can see that. And, you know, this one's a little bit worn out, but it says Micarta and it says 1952. And see, there's a W, and it actually says Westinghouse in the black circle around that W. Now, in the crown of this liner, you've got the Westinghouse logo, which, you know, most of us are familiar with, right there in the crown. So, Micarta, like I said, is a subdivision of Westinghouse. And there was Westinghouse and there was K-Pac liners that were actually basically assembled and put together basically through Micarta. And so that's why you might see Micarta 1951, 52, 53, you know, on up in the years there. And what you'll see also is sometimes you'll see like a Westinghouse and you'll see the K-Pac, which is like a cross shape. Let's see. I'll use this one as an example. You can see that in there. It's almost like a plus sign or a cross, and it's got K-Pac going up and down and left to right. And then you see there's the Westinghouse logo above it, right? So you will see that sometimes. So it could have been a World War II Westinghouse mold, for example, that K-Pac got a hold of, and they put their marking in there also. And then, you know, like, again, there's just so much to touch on here, but one thing you'll notice is, like, some of the different characteristics I'll kind of go over is, like, the, you know, the webbing, the suspension change, starting in 1964, the nape setup and webbing changed quite a bit. It went from, you know, what we're used to seeing right here, right, to a 3-point system, which this is one that has it. It's here on the end, but so this one has a 3-point system. It's got the 3 black buckles there. You can see them, 1, 2, 3. And what this did, it basically held the liner and the helmet better. It better supported it on the soldier's head. Now, I do have some other ones. You see it's got the buckles, but the nape setup itself is gone. I'm sure it probably wore out or was taken off for whatever reason. But so if you see this right here on your helmet liner, this came into play starting around 1964. They did away with, like I said, the old style that was used in World War II, you know, starting into after World War II. Another thing they changed is the older style. As you can see, you know, the webbing and everything was sat farther down in the helmet liner if it was upside down, right? Whereas these right here, see, it's brought up closer. It doesn't sit down as far in the helmet liner. It's got a completely different suspension there, if you notice that. Like I said, it's really about supporting the soldier's, you know, neck and head and everything. So like I said, the older ones, you see it sat lower down. This is World War II, right? It sat lower down. But over the years, like I said, starting around 1964, they raised it up to where it would have been you know, the helmet would have sat higher up on the soldier's head instead of their head being sunk down in there. That's why you've seen like pictures from like Vietnam, and the soldier's helmet might be sitting kind of higher up on their head, like their head's not sunk down in, you know, in the helmet, and it's because of the new suspension and webbing setup that they use there. You know, there's different logos and stuff. One other thing I wanted to touch on, there's the Marmac company. And a lot of people don't understand about Marmac. You'll see an M, and a lot of times you'll see what a lot of people think is a number 11, like an M11, but it's not. It's actually, it's an M II, and it stands for Marmac Industries Incorporated. And I think it's this one right here. Yeah, see this one right here. Bear with me. See right there's marked US, and that's not an M11, that's not an M11, that's an MII. Marmac Industries Incorporated. So if you see that M, or sometimes you'll see like an M in a number, like a big embossed number, like a 22 or something random, which would be the mold number. But if you see that M in there, in your helmet liner, you've got a Marmac. It's a Vietnam era Marmac liner. Whereas, you know, Westinghouse was the W in the circle. K-Pac was the cross, you know, with K-Pac in it. The words K-Pac left, up and right, left and down, left to right, up and down, sorry. And then there's also Firestone, just like the company, you know, that does vehicle repairs and tires and stuff. Let me see if you can see it down in there, but right there, can you see it? That F right there, that Firestone F. And so then you would, you know, obviously have a Firestone made liner. Another thing that kind of was changed is starting in the actual Vietnam era, you know, after around 64, after 64, is the helmet liners, they actually started getting thicker. You see this one right here is really, really thick compared to, you know, like I'll say a World War II one. It's a heavier, thicker helmet liner. And it has to do with like ballistics and everything. It went from like a duck cloth basically liner to like nylon, and it's a heavier fabric, and like I said, it's better for ballistics. It would better, you know, hopefully protect the soldier if they were, you know, hitting the helmet, the bullet or shrapnel went through the helmet into the liner, and protect them better. You know, that would be the hope anyways. Another characteristic is after what was it, you know, they did away with the leather chin strap also. You know, the studs. So you see the studs in there. This one's got the studs. That one. And then you see they did away with it. Starting around, let me see, what was it? Around 1964, I believe it was, they stopped adding the leather chin strap studs for the, you know, the extra leather chin strap. So a lot of changes took place starting in 1964. A lot of changes. Another couple liners here you'll see is this one here is an M1C. This is a paratrooper liner. See, it's got the A yokes here, which it's missing a few things, but it's got the snaps there. This one was made by Firestone. You can see that F in there. This one right here is an M1C also. And this one was made by, let's show you, K-Pac, and it's actually got a 51. So this one around 1951 right here. So Korean War era. This one right here would be Vietnam era right there. But there, like I said, it's just so much here, and I'm trying not to be all over the place. But I've really been looking forward to making this video. But like I said, I just hope this helps you out somewhat. So I'll just kind of go over it again real quick. So remember, if you have a Micarta liner, that's a subdivision of Westinghouse. And sometimes you'll see, you know, K-Pac and Westinghouse markings. And a lot of times K-Pac, you'll see the year, whether it's a 5 and a 1 or 5.2, 5.3, whatever. And so then you can kind of date your helmet liner. Again, if you've got a Marmac, the Marmac will have a letter M. And a lot of times they'll have an MII, Marmac Industries Incorporated. or you could just have an M, and it's called a mold number. So sometimes you'll see, like I said, an M22, or even with other manufacturers, you'll see like a Firestone with a number 9 or whatever. Those will be the mold numbers. So you have the maker's mark and then the mold number. And then, like I said, the suspension changed around the nape and webbing and everything. Suspension changed starting around 1964. Like I said, it was raised up higher to better support the helmet and liner on the soldier's head. Like I said, the 3-point system started around 1964. That's why you'll have the 3 random black buckles there. That's the new suspension. It did away with the older style that sat up in the back like this here on this World War II one, and these going into the 50s. Also, the leather chin strap was done away with starting around 1964. Again, you know, the helmet liners starting in the 60s and mid-late 60s, they started getting to be made thicker. And another thing is they'll have an orangish color, if you can see that. Like the interior of the helmet liner is like an orange, a reddish orange in there. And like I said, definitely a lot thicker and a little bit heavier because it was made of a different material for ballistics and everything. Now you will see some liners from like the late 70s and 80s, and they'll be like a greenish color, really almost yellowish green, similar to this color here, but more yellowish. And in black ink on the side, you'll see like some information about the helmet liner, and it'll actually be dated in there. It might have an 83F or 84 or 78 or whatever, and that 2-digit number, that would be the year that liner was made. I've had a few of those over the years, but I don't have any right now. You know, I actually got rid of them. But anyways, like I said, I'm not trying to ramble, but I hope this helped you out. Please continue to watch my videos. Check out the one on World War II helmet liners. I've done one on field jackets, how to identify field jackets, World War II ammo boxes. There's a video I was really excited to do earlier this year about the differences between World War I and World War II canteens. If you haven't seen my new man cave video, please check it out. Continue to like, comment, and share my videos. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be getting back to you soon.